Call this meeting to order, Monongalia County Commission of October 11th, 2017. If you would, note, please, that all commissioners are present, and please stand for a moment of silent meditation and pledge the flag. Thank you. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Consent and approval. Good morning, Renetta. How are you today?
Good morning. How are you?
Good, thank you.
We have 8 exonerations for $3,476.06. Vouchers for general county, $72,291.35. Full severance, $9,300. Magistrate court, $259.20. Chestnut Ridge Park, $9,954.28. Camp Muffley, $5,018.98. Fire levy, $372,053.74. Recreation levy, $540, $533.09. Assessor's valuation, $33. Morgantown Industrial TIF, $39,330.03. Purchasing card vouchers, general county, $16,528.92. Home confinement, $7,232.91. Chestnut Ridge Park, $414.48. Assessor's valuation, $626.50. For a voucher total of $1,073,576.48. We have position vacancies for boards and authorities: the West Run Board of Zoning Appeals, Planning Commission, and Mon County Historic Landmarks Commission, Abandoned and Dilapidated Property Enforcement, Deputy Sheriff's Civil Service Commission, and the Mason-Dixon Historical Park Advisory Board. Judiciary orders for October 11th, 2017.
Move for approval.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded for approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Introductions of new employees. Sheriff, how are you?
Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
We'll pass these up and go back, so we'll pick it up on the team.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have 2 new employees. Corey Schubert started on the 9th of October, process transport, part-time. And Michael Rakosi will be starting on the 16th of October, full-time, process transport. There are 2 new hires. We'll still have 3 or 4 more to come. We've had a turnover here recently.
Move for approval.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded for approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Gentlemen, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you.
Michael, is Greg your dad?
Yeah.
Okay. Last time I saw you, you were about this tall.
I'm still that
Welcome.
Next, please. Good morning.
Hi, I gave Colleen my paper.
That's okay.
That's fine.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm the director of the Day Report Center, and with me I have Kayla Johnson. With your approval, she would be employed as Day Report Center case manager full-time.
Move for approval.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded for approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, and welcome aboard.
Thank
Good
you.
to have
Good
you.
luck.
Thank you.
Are there any other introductions?
Oh, we got them all.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm MJ Zink. I'm the Director of Mon County
Yes.
Youth Services. I'm not on the agenda, but Renetta assured me it'd be okay to step in. I hired a part-time youth crisis worker. Her name's Lindsay Garhart. She went to the judicial building, so she's not here. She got lost. But she is trying to get her degree here at WVU, and she's in the same steps and journey as you and I, Tom. So she wants to be a counselor, and I think she would be
sorry.
a great, I know, right, asset to the shelter.
Great. Move for approval.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded for approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. And tell her welcome aboard when she finds us.
Yeah.
Okay? That's all right. Are there any other introductions of new employees? Hearing on, we'll move on to comments from the public. We're now open for comments from the public. Seeing none, we will now close comments from the public. Colleen, do we have grants? We have no grants today. All right, moving on to Ms. Salzen of the Rape and Domestic Violence Information Center, a proclamation, please.
She's not here? Oh, I can't see her. Oh, there we go. Happen to have that
Good
post.
morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you for having me today. Whereas the crime of domestic violence violates an individual's privacy and dignity, security, and humanity due to systematic use of physical, emotional, sexual, psychological, and economic control and/or abuse, including abuse to children and the elderly. And whereas the problems of domestic violence are not confined to any group or groups of people, but cut across all economic, racial, and societal barriers and are supported by societal indifferences. And whereas the impact of domestic violence is wide-ranging, directly affecting individuals and society as a whole, here in this community, throughout the United States and the world. And whereas it is battered women themselves who have been in the forefront of efforts to bring peace and equality into the home. Now, therefore, in recognition of the important work done by the Rape and Domestic Violence Information Center, serving Monongalia, Preston, and Taylor counties, as well as other domestic violence programs, the Monongalia County Commission does hereby proclaim the month of October to be National Domestic Violence Awareness Month and urges all citizens to actively participate in the scheduled activities and programs to work toward improving victim safety and holding perpetrators of domestic violence accountable for their actions against individual victims and society as a whole.
Thank you.
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded for approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I would like to say, as a guidance counselor for 34 years, you happened to come into our schools, and I was shocked how much violence dating in high school.
Yes.
And that's where it begins. So you were very helpful, and we appreciate it. But it really surprises me how much it starts there, too, and from learned behavior, probably.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Would you like a picture with this?
Oh, yeah, sure, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Would you like a picture with us, Ms. Zalsey?
Kid.
They wouldn't take the picture.
Yeah, with the proclamation.
If you would come forward. Okay. Please.
We have to extend the meeting some way, so. Come on around.
Okay.
This is why we built this thing, so we can have a nice
Yes.
picture.
We have room now, okay?
Yes, we do have room now.
There you go. There's your signed proclamation, okay? Got it?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming,
Thank you.
and thank you for the work you do.
Thank
Okay?
you very much.
All right, next. We will announce next the winner of the flag contest that we had to have a Monongalia County flag that will be flown in front of the courthouse. And there were 85 entries ranging from, I believe, grade school
Yes.
through adults. And this has been the selection of those that are judges. Now, next week, we will give the honorable mentions and runner-ups, but we wanted to make sure that this was, and the individual's name is a Mr. Andrew Riley, 428 Park Street. So congratulations, and we will, we really respect all the people who made an effort to put forth. There were lots of really great entries for this, and the decision to select one was not an easy one, I assure you. Anybody have anything else to add regarding this?
No, it was tough going through those 85, and then we pared it down to 13, and then making them.
Right.
Then we pared that down to 5, and then amongst everybody that was voting on it, we kind of compiled the results, and we could have went 3 different ways. I mean, I was really impressed with the quality, and especially from some of our younger kids.
Yes.
Some of my favorites were the younger kids. So
I believe he is an MHS student.
I believe he's and he does not know, so we're announcing this, Ben, so if you want to contact, yeah.
Are you making odds on whether or not he'll watch the YouTube video?
Yes, but, no, but I think what's also neat.
We will contact him, I assure you.
I think what also really stood out was after we looked at the flags, we then made them explain what the flag means.
Yes.
And rather than us read it, I think, I think it would be good for him to come in and then he could read it, because it's unbelievable
Yes.
what each of the designs are on there that represent Monongalia County. I think, and that really was outstanding.
Yeah. We'll have to get him out of school.
Yeah, well, which I'm sure he'll be pleased. Maybe we can get him out next week.
Maybe Frank
Okay.
will allow us, so
Yeah,
we'll see.
I think for that I will.
Okay, thank you. All right, correspondence. We have none. Unfinished business. We have none. Okay, we'll move on to new business.
Slow day.
First, consideration of request by the West Virginia Black Bears for funds totaling $2,000 related to 2 community events to be held at the Monongalia County Ballpark.
Move, do you want to read the two? Move for approval.
Second with discussion.
It's been
Yes.
properly moved and seconded for discussion.
And could you just tell us what the events
Yes.
are?
Sure.
Yes.
We've got 2 events. The first one will be on November the 5th from 2 to 4 p.m. That is called Crafting with Cooper. And they are going to, it is in conjunction with the Mon County 4-H. They will receive 25% of the profits back to the club. They'll have 5 crafts. They'll have apple cider, caramel apples, bobbing for apples. So it's a fall festival, more or less. There is an entrance fee of $8 per child. Adults are free, and that's to cover the crafts and the food. They're asking the commission for $800. The second event is Holidays at the Ballpark, December the 3rd from 5 to 9. This is a free event for the public. They will offer free photos with Santa, movie, cake, cookie decorating, hot chocolate, candy cane hunt, ugly sweater competition, and they will decorate the stadium festively. That's going to actually be kind of cool.
Yeah.
So they are asking $1,200 for that.
And to reiterate, this is, we have a fund that we set aside from the lease payments we get from the university for the ballpark, and we use them to further community events. So this is another one of those events that we are choosing to fund. And we're working on a process for that.
It's done.
Right.
It's done.
So we have a process now for that, so other organizations that have events at the ballpark can come forward and we'll consider them.
Yes.
It's been properly moved and second for approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Next, consider for adoption a supplemental resolution in connection with the issuance by the Monongalia County Commission of its special excise tax revenue refunding and improvement bonds, Series 2017A, University Town Center Economic Opportunity Development District, which would approve an amended and restated ground lease and an amended and restated sublease and lease purchase agreement for Monongalia County Ballpark. Approve the first project cost requisition for Series 2017A bonds. Approve the cost of issuance requisition for the Series 2017A bonds. And approve engagement letters for certain participants in the issuance of the Series 2017A bonds.
Move for adoption.
Second with discussion?
It's been properly moved and seconded for adoption for discussion.
Okay, are we going to have Mr. Ammon explain this for us?
Cliff
Just so
Notes
the public-
version,
Cliff Notes so
The shortened version. Yes, please,
or I
Tom.
should say, yeah, not the legal version, but to explain it in plain English, which is difficult.
Sure, I know it's sometimes hard to boil these things
Yes.
down to plain English, but
I understand.
Tom Amon with Steptoe and Johnson were the bond attorneys for the county on the town center bond issues. So as a part of the new bonds that the county is pursuing, we had some existing provisions in the lease agreements that was giving the university some consent rights with respect to issuance of additional bonds. And since they had additional rent provisions that were supporting the repayment of those bonds, and those bonds are now being repaid, the 14A bonds, these revisions essentially remove the additional rent obligations of WVU, since they're no longer supporting through additional rent, the new bond issue. and also correspondingly eliminating the consent rights for them with respect to the county's future bond issues for the district. So that's the two amendments to the ballpark leases.
Okay.
And then for the 17A issue that's closing tomorrow, we have a cost of issuance. You know, the county approves the use of bond proceeds for certain purposes.
Yes.
One of those is cost of issuance, and that's done through requisitioning. The closing costs are represented in this cost of issuance requisition to pay the cost of issuance for the 17A bonds, and those are all listed and described in there. And then the initial requisition from the project fund for the new bonds, it's in essence reimbursement to developer Westridge for costs of infrastructure and related items that they've incurred to date with respect to the town center excise tax district. And that amount is roughly about $13,500,000. And approving our engagement letters as bond counsel for the 17A issue, and also for the subordinate bonds that are going to close on Friday for the excise tax district.
Okay.
So that's what the supplemental resolution
Okay.
considers for approval.
Thank you. It's been properly moved and second for approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Tom, I'll just have you stand there if you don't mind, since we... Next, to consider the adoption of a bond authorizing resolution in order, which would authorize the issuance by the county commission of its not more than $43,500,000 aggregate principal amount of subordinate special district excise tax revenue and improvement bonds, Series 2017B, University Town Center Economic Opportunity Development District, for the purpose of paying the cost of the design, acquisition, construction, and equipping of additional development expenditures in the University Town Center Economic Opportunity Development District, and paying cost of issuance for the series of 2017 B bonds and related costs.
Move for adoption.
Second.
It's been properly
With
moved
discussion.
and seconded for adoption. If you would, please, Tom.
Sure. So this is a companion issue to the 17A. The 17A is a private placement with various investors for costs, basically to repay the 3 series of 2014 bond issues. And then we would just have the 17A and the 17B, and also to make additional project funding available for the district. But those are senior first lien bonds on the excise tax revenues in the district. This order would approve the issuance of bonds that would have a subordinate lien on those excise tax revenues. They would be placed with developer Westridge, the amount not to exceed $43,500,000, and this basically allows Westridge to move forward, and with the public infrastructure and related costs that they incur in the district, and the build-out and development of the district, they could submit requisitions to the county for approval, and if approved, then those bonds would step in line for payments of excise tax revenues to reimburse the developer for those costs incurred, but only after the senior bonds have been fully funded each year. So that's the mechanism for the subordinate bonds. It's also approving the main documents for that issue, so a supplemental trust indenture, a bond purchase agreement, and then we've got also the closing costs for that issue, so a requisition of cost of issuance to pay those closing costs. Our engagement letter as bond counsel for that issue, and a bond purchase agreement between the county and Westridge for that subordinate bond placement.
Okay. It's been properly moved and second for approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. To consider the adoption of a reimbursement resolution by the County Commission which would authorize the reimbursement of expenditures incurred with respect to the University Town Center Economic Opportunity Development District prior to the issuance of special district excise tax revenue bonds, which may be issued by the County Commission with respect to the district from the proceeds of such bonds.
Move for adoption.
Second?
Been properly moved and second for adoption. Tom, if you would again, please.
Sure. So this is basically a federal income tax rule mechanism to where the subordinate bonds that we have discussed that are going to be placed with developer Westridge, as they incur these costs and they step in line for reimbursement through the subordinate bonds, in order to, if these bonds, the subordinates, were then to be refinanced at a later time on a tax-exempt basis, the county would want to have this reimbursement resolution in place to permit the issuance of tax-exempt bonds to make the reimbursements. So we have in here we've stated a maximum principal amount of bonds that could be issued that would be eligible for reimbursement, all subject to the approval of the county commission through requisitions and approval of any future additional bonds of $200 million, which is basically the total cap that the development office has set for the district.
Right.
So it's a federal tax mechanism that allows those costs to be reimbursed from tax-exempt bonds.
Good. Okay.
Great.
Question? It's been properly moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate your help in this.
Go ahead. Did you want to make a comment when you didn't make?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I just wanted to thank all the parties. We're getting an understanding of what it's like to try and negotiate and get all the, the conversations going back and forth so quickly. And I think this
There are a
is
great many emails.
many emails. Yes. It's glad that we didn't have to use paper. There'd be a lot of trees that
Thank
would
you.
not be surviving.
Thank you all. Okay. Lastly, consideration of a request by the Greater Morgantown Convention and Visitors Bureau of $1,000 matching contribution for the Goodwill City Ambassador Program.
Move for approval of the $1,000.
Second?
It's been properly moved and seconded for approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. It is a good program, okay? So, is there any other new business before us? Hearing none, we'll go to reports from elected officials. Any elected officials that wish to give a report? Yes, Gary.
I would just remind the commission that we will be canvassing for the election on Friday at 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock. Yes. Okay, thank you. Any others? Hearing none, we'll move to reports from county commissioners. Sean?
Yeah, it's been an interesting week, and as diving into what Carrie was just talking about with canvassing for the election, I want to thank the county clerk's staff and Carrie for the wonderful job that you did with the special election. I know that there was a lot of hurdles that you had to clear due to the nature of the date and issues with precincts not being available, so we really appreciate everything you did. A lot of people don't know that we are the only county in the state that did electronic voting, so when we certified the election on Saturday night, it only took about an hour of our time to stop by and see the results and sign off on them while the rest of the state counted into the night. So really appreciate it. Again, Mon County leading the pack, and as a shining example to the rest of the state. I did, last Thursday, I did go down to Beckley with the city manager and met with the FAA, and that was it was a pretty good meeting. We're trying to make sure or see what we need to do to keep the airport runway extension project moving, and I think it was very productive. We have our Red Committee meeting on Thursday where we'll kind of debrief and figure out the path forward to take advantage of the guidance that the FAA gave us in regards to our benefit cost analysis, our environmental assessment, and the actual airport extension justification that has to be approved before all this, all these pieces fall into place. So it was a pretty good meeting. That's really, again, with the Red Committee meeting tomorrow, I have the Development Authority, our regular monthly meeting. And as Carrie mentioned, we have election canvassing on Friday. That's all.
Yesterday, I was able to represent us. I went to the Fairfield Inn and Suites, and they're remodeling, and it's amazing what they've done, and they were very appreciative, and looking forward to the development over that's continuing, because they're clearly benefiting from it, and they said their numbers have really increased. But they had done a whole renovation, so I went there. Second, I do want to say this is homecoming, and I will be representing the WVU Alumni Marching Band Percussion Section for the 41st year. And all I can say is I think High Street keeps getting longer and longer as I march with a bass drum. And finally, I went to Ridgedale and spoke about recycling, and they were very interested. But of course, you know, I talked to the 4th and 5th graders, and finally, the biggest comment they kept asking was that I said that my wife worked there. And they said, "Oh, you mean your daughter down the road?" So I guess I'm getting a little bit older than I realized. Thank you.
And I forgot to mention two things, if you didn't mind. One of the things we get all the time is calls about the road, and obviously there's a lot going on with the roads. But I'd be remiss if I didn't thank a city council person. I got a call about a road. It was in Rachel Fetty's district. I called her, I emailed her, gave her the address, and then 2 days later, I got a text back from the guy thanking me for what I did. So I don't want to take credit for something I had nothing to do, and I really appreciate her taking care of that, and I'd be remiss not mentioning it. And likewise, we have a little bit of a neighborhood issue with some zoning issues, an issue my neighbor has been having, and Ryan Wallace reached out to me and asked me about it, and actually took time on his Saturday to come over and talk to my neighbor. So I really appreciate the interaction with council members.
Okay. Thank you. Last Thursday, I did represent commission at the Farm Bureau banquet. Again, I would like to reiterate, I'm proud of Monongalia County in what we did in leading the state for the election. I'm actually proud of our state that it's all the need to advance forward with this road bond issue, because we have a lot at stake here. Relative to that, I did speak with Donnie Williams yesterday by phone, and what we're looking to be doing is he's going to make an assessment, and then we shall meet with him to go over his assessment of need that we could look to projects in the county. And that's how this would be handled. This evening is Planning Commission, and I'd like to remind everybody that this weekend is the festival celebration at Mason-Dixon. If you want to add a little bit to that, since I'll let you finish up, Sean, since that's your park. Okay?
No, I forgot to mention.
It's okay.
Today, what's the actual day of the 250?
Was it Monday?
Yeah, I believe it was Monday.
I believe it was Monday, yes.
It was the 250th anniversary of the Mason-Dixon, of them setting the actual stone, correct?
It was their last
See,
stone.
Ed knows more, but he's the historical guy.
Apparently what happened was that there were Native Americans that were rather hostile to the fact that the surveyors were there.
Right.
And technically, they were supposed to go another 13 miles, I believe, and they set their last stone there. The other 13 miles were surveyed later to go technically what was then the west. You got to remember what Monongalia County was at this time. This was the west. So we were fortunate, but we look forward to a really great celebration of this event.
Yeah, it's a wonderful park. Anybody, the constant comment I get from anybody that I take out there is, "Wow, I didn't even know this was here," and it is really a gem, an unknown gem to most of the people in this county. So I appreciate. I don't know if JR's here.
No.
Oh, he left.
No, he went back.
Our park superintendent and the Mason-Dixon Historical Board has been working hard on this celebration, and I look forward to it on Sunday.
Good. All right. Thank you all. Motion for adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. We are now adjourned. Thank you.